Well, hello, everybody. This is Dr. David Jockers, and today we're talking about the top 5 keto myths that most people believe. The ketogenic diet and lifestyle has taken a mainstream role, really, as far as the media goes. It's one of the fastest growing topics on Google, YouTube that people are searching for when it comes to health, and for good reason. There's incredible results people are getting through a ketogenic diet and lifestyle, but there's also a lot of myths out there that most people believe when they first think or hear about keto. And so I'm going to go through those myths in today's presentation and really help you understand the real truth behind the ketogenic diet and lifestyle. And so if you don't know me, my name is Dr. David Jockers. I am a doctor of natural medicine. I have a clinic called Exodus Health Center in Kennesaw, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. And I really specialize in helping people improve their metabolism and overcome chronic inflammatory conditions. And this is my beautiful wife, Angel, my little boys, David and Joshua. And so when we look at ketosis and understanding how it works, we know that most people are sugar burners. So they're consuming foods that are higher in glucose or higher in sugar and starch that turns into glucose, like bread, for example. And then the body produces insulin to take the sugar out of the bloodstream and put it into the cells where it can be used to create cellular energy. And so these individuals are constantly in need for foods that elevate blood glucose. And so they're in a sense have to eat every 3 to 4 hours, and they're very susceptible to blood sugar imbalances. Whereas a ketogenic diet is a very low carb diet, high healthy fats. So when we eat a lot of healthy fats, our blood glucose levels fall because really fats don't turn into glucose. And so when the glucose levels fall, now the body has to turn to another energy source. So it starts to break down the fats we consume, our dietary fats, as well as the fat in our body. So our body fat turns it into ketones in the liver. Ketones are a water-soluble compound that slips right into the cell membrane, right into the mitochondria. It can be used to produce rampant amounts of cellular energy. And so it's very clean energy as opposed to glucose. Glucose is very dirty fuel. We produce a lot of metabolic waste, and we produce less energy using glucose. The only advantage of glucose is very fast. We can produce very quick energy, and it doesn't depend on the presence of oxygen. Whereas ketones, or breaking down fat, we need oxygen available, and also it's a little bit slower process than the glucose. So really, ultimately, we want to be burning fat and using ketones when we're at rest. Like I'm sitting here doing this presentation, I'm sitting, my body's at rest. You're listening to this, your body's at rest. Whereas if we're exercising, moving our body at a high intensity, we need a lot of energy quickly. That's when we want to burn glucose as our primary fuel source and ketones secondary. And so this is basically, we want to have this metabolic flexibility to use ketones as when we're at rest, but then also to use glucose as an energy source when we're highly active. And so the top 5 keto myths, number 1 is that keto is only good if you want to lose weight. And this is a really, really common myth. And that's because people are getting incredible weight loss results. They're posting them all over the internet, all over social media, the great weight loss results that they're getting. But I will tell you that I have never once wanted to lose weight. I'm trying to actually gain muscle. That's always my goal. And I follow a ketogenic diet and lifestyle. The reason why is it actually helps me maintain my weight. So a lot of people are concerned that if they follow a keto diet, that they're actually going to lose weight. If they're not trying to lose weight, they're going to lose muscle mass. And that's not actually true, because when our body is running off ketones, we actually preserve the branched chain amino acid called leucine, and leucine helps our body preserve lean body tissue. So it sends a epigenetic signal to our genome, to our genetics, saying, hey, preserve lean body tissue, burn fat. And that's a preferential state to be in. So we actually just get lean, but we also get very muscular. Okay, we actually maintain our muscle mass. And so instead of being like a skinny fat, which a lot of people are that think they're thin, they're like, hey, I'm really, really thin, I want to gain weight. But actually, they actually have a higher percentage of body fat because they're skinny fat. Instead, it starts to turn that extra fat into basically into muscle in a sense. Preserving lean body tissue makes it easier for your body to build muscle if you add in some resistance training. So it's not just for weight loss, although it can be a great tool if you are trying to lose weight. Keto is an all meat diet. So a lot of people think that as well, but I just show you a plate right here. This is a keto diet approach. Of course, take out the apple. Unless you are adding in a little bit extra carbs. But if you look at that actual plate, you've got avocado, which is tons of healthy fats. You've got olives, black olives. You have got, there's some cheese on there, raw grass-fed cheese. Of course, you can take that out and just have the salad, and it's a full-fat salad. You've got onions, you've got green leafy vegetables. So these are all great ketogenic foods, cucumbers that are very low carb, and high in healthy fats, high in micronutrients that can help support a ketogenic lifestyle. So it's definitely not an all meat diet. Certainly, you could definitely do meat. Obviously, I recommend grass-fed, organic, pasture-raised animal products. Those are definitely the best sources because they're the most nutrient-rich, the lowest amount of toxins. So you're definitely going to get the best benefit out of those. And there are many versions of the ketogenic diet, and some people recommend a higher meat diet, whereas other people don't. And I'm a fan of a lower meat diet. And instead consuming meat, maybe like 1 to 2 servings a day. The reason why is that meat oftentimes is very rich in protein. And the ketogenic diet is really moderate protein. So we don't want a high protein diet. It's a high healthy fat, moderate protein, very low carbohydrate diet. So we can do a lot of things like avocados, olives. If you're okay with dairy, grass-fed butter or ghee is really, really good. You can do things like macadamia nuts. You could do pasture-raised eggs, coconut oil, coconut butter, coconut flakes. So you can get a lot of these healthy fats, lots of dark green leafy vegetables, herbs, nuts and seeds, fermented foods. These can all be really, really helpful. Now, keto is low in fiber and bad for the microbiome, but you know what? 1 avocado actually has as much fiber as 2 bowls of oatmeal. So it's definitely not low in fiber. It's definitely not bad for the microbiome. I'm going to do a future presentation on that. It's actually very beneficial for the microbiome. They've done studies like Frontiers in Microbiology, looked at individuals with multiple sclerosis, and they found compared to healthy adults that the individuals with multiple sclerosis had dysbiosis, bad ratio of bacteria. They had a lot of pathogenic strains, and they had lower levels of short chain fatty acid production, which is very anti-inflammatory. They put them on a ketogenic diet, and after 6 months, it restored harmony to their gut. They did a follow-up stool test, restored harmony to the gut, boosted up their short chain fatty acids, reduced inflammation in the body. So these individuals are doing a lot better. So it's actually very good for the microbiome when it's done correctly. So if you're adding in a lot of these healthy vegetables, it's really, really healthy for the body. And of course, we know that most Americans are eating a lot of grains and carbohydrates that feed bad bacteria. They feed bad bacteria, they feed yeast, things like that, and it causes a lot more stress on the microbiome. So we take that out on a ketogenic approach. We take those kinds of things out, and it's a lower carbohydrate diet. And so therefore, it's going to preferentially favor good microbes that produce short chain fatty acids, that help our body with fat burning, that help reduce inflammation in our system. So it's really good. Now, 4th myth, keto is bad for the thyroid and adrenals. I'm going to touch on that here in just a minute because that's a really common one. I want to go in more detail. And then the 5th one there is keto is hard to follow and unsustainable long term. This is actually not true because as you follow a ketogenic diet, your hunger and your cravings go down significantly because your body's actually using the ketones as a fuel source. So most people struggle with diets because of hunger and cravings. They find themselves hungry often. They have cravings, it's especially common with a low-fat diet and a low-calorie diet when they calorie restrict. But on a ketogenic diet, when you're consuming enough calories and you're consuming all these healthy fats, hunger does not come. I mean, you really don't notice the hunger and you don't have the same level of cravings. And so it's actually very easy to follow this, especially when you see the results and you feel better mentally, when you have better energy, and when the weight's coming off. If you're trying to lose weight, you notice, wow, hey, I'm getting great results and I feel really, really good. And the food tastes great because you get to eat all these healthy fats. So it's easier to follow long term. And so when we look at really what a ketogenic diet does to the microbiome, again, it can provide a lot of prebiotic fiber. Those prebiotics can supply the intestinal cells with 2 major forms of energy. short chain fatty acids and ketone bodies. Okay. Those short chain fatty acids like butyrate are very anti-inflammatory for the endothelial lining of the blood vessels. They reduce the risk of heart disease, stroke, neurodegenerative conditions. And so where do we get these prebiotic fibers on a ketogenic diet? Well, look down at the bottom of this: avocados, olives, onions, leeks, chicory root, dark green leafy veggies. People are like, where's chicory root? Well, you can actually get teas with chicory root in them, like dandy tea and things like that have that. Dark green leafy veggies. Most of us should be eating these on a regular basis. Cruciferous veggies like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, all very rich in these prebiotic fibers. Cucumbers, nuts and seeds like chia seeds, flax seeds, artichoke, radishes are a great one. I know radishes, for me, I feel really good when I'm consuming radishes on a regular basis. They have great sulfur compounds in them that reduce inflammation and boost glutathione levels. Garlic does too, leeks and onion, and really good inulin prebiotics and something called arabinogalactans. That's a really good prebiotic fiber as well that supports the microbiome. Celery and shirataki noodles. You can actually get these things are called miracle rice, miracle noodles. You can find them on Amazon, shirataki, and it's basically like a sea vegetable. It's really low carb and kind of has a good texture to it. So you can have pasta with pesto on it and rice, and things like that, using that. And it's a really good prebiotic rich in glucomannan to help feed the microbiome. So it's really good stuff. You can also, of course, make potato alternatives, mashed potato alternatives, and rice alternatives out of cauliflower as well. Keto mashed potatoes, keto rice. So lots of things that you can switch around using these healthier prebiotic-rich foods to support the microbiome. Now, when we look at the thyroid, we know the thyroid is driven by messages from the brain. So the hypothalamus is like a little antenna that looks to see how much thyroid hormone, stress hormone, blood sugar, things like that are circulating in our bloodstream. And then it sends a signal to the thyroid gland. In this case, when it comes to thyroid hormone, it sends a signal to the pituitary gland that then the pituitary gland says, okay, so if thyroid hormone's low, or if our metabolic rate, if we have more stress and we need a higher metabolic rate, then it sends a signal called TRH to the pituitary, which then sends a signal called TSH, thyroid stimulating hormone, to the thyroid, which produces thyroid hormone. Now, 93% of that is an inactive form of T4. The other 7% is T3. The active form of thyroid hormone is T3. The only way to get good T3 expression at the cell membrane is good conversion from the liver and the gut. 60% of the conversion is in the liver, 20% is in the gut. So what can stop that conversion? Well, two main things, okay? Inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction are two big things. So ketogenic diet can actually improve thyroid and adrenal function. Number one, by reducing inflammation. Okay, so really the most powerful way to reduce inflammation is either through fasting. That would be the number one nutrition strategy to reduce inflammation. Number two would be some sort of a fasting mimicking diet or something similar to fasting, which a ketogenic diet does, because it keeps insulin down. Insulin is a pro-inflammatory hormone. So when we keep that down, we reduce inflammation, which helps improve hypothalamic communication with the pituitary, the adrenal, and the thyroid. So inflammation kind of gets in the way and creates more static or scratchiness in the communication between the hypothalamus and these major endocrine organs. So by reducing inflammation, it takes stress off the thyroid, reduces autoimmunity like Hashimoto's or Graves', reduces just damage, inflammatory damage to the thyroid. And it improves the T4 to T3 conversion and active T3 in the liver, gut, and the cell itself. And on top of that, a ketogenic diet improves cellular energy production through stimulating more mitochondria. So when we're in ketosis, we really don't need as much active thyroid hormone conversion because we're producing more cellular energy. So that is an advantage. We actually don't need as much thyroid hormone activation. Now, if somebody came in with a thyroid or major adrenal issues to begin with and started a ketogenic diet, what we have to understand is any sort of dietary change to begin with is a stressor on the body. And if we overwhelm our system with stressors, then we're not going to be able to adapt effectively. So people that have a pre-existing thyroid or adrenal issue don't need to like do a sudden drop in carbs. They don't need to do like a significant change in their diet. They should gradually move towards the ketogenic approach by counting out how many carbohydrates they normally are consuming and then reducing in half for the first week. And then monitoring, see how their body feels, see how they feel. Don't try intermittent fasting right away if you're dealing with thyroid and adrenal issues. Work on doing maybe a 12-hour simple fast first between your last meal and your first meal. So you finish dinner at 6 p.m., you don't eat anything with calories until 6 a.m. the next day. So you can start with a simple fast, which is a really good strategy. You might move it up to 14 hours as you feel good with that. Okay, so you gradually start moving, reducing carbs and adding in more fat each week. See how your body responds. So you're gradually moving in this direction. And I think that's the best approach if you've got a lot of stress or if you have a pre-existing thyroid issue. And then also you can work with a functional health practitioner that's trained in the keto approach, and they may be able to use like some thyroid glandulars, different things like that to support the thyroid if there's been a lot of inflammation that's damaged the thyroid over the years, like a Hashimoto's, or if you have nodules on your thyroid and you're not able to produce enough thyroid to begin with. So sometimes there's some advanced strategies there, but really a gradual approach is the best for people with thyroid and adrenal dysfunction. But a ketogenic diet in general is actually a great approach for these conditions. And so it's definitely a myth to say it's bad for these conditions. It's not bad, just needs to be done gradually, kind of like saying exercise would be really bad for somebody with a thyroid problem. Of course, exercise is great for somebody with a thyroid problem. However, it needs to be done gradually. They shouldn't go from, being sedentary to all of a sudden running 10Ks, right? Or working out for an hour, lifting weight, high intensity resistance training, or doing intervals. That would not be a good strategy. So we want to gradually shift. That's the key. Gradually move our body into this condition and build the metabolic machinery for ketone production. So that's really the key there. And then some extra strategies would be carb cycling. So occasionally finding, after we get keto adapted, adding in some carbs from time to time. Like, for example, doing it in the evenings, maybe once or twice a week can be really helpful for individuals with thyroid issues, because when we do restrict carbs, basically what happens is our body says, okay, I'm in a time of famine because insulin is really low. When we're in a time of famine, we get this powerful anti-inflammatory effect that's amazing. And that's one of the reasons why keto is so effective. However, if we're in a time of famine for a long period of time, the body starts down-regulating its ability to produce thyroid hormone and to convert it into active T3, starts converting more into the inactive form called reverse T3. And so adding in a little bit of carbs could just be once a week. For some individuals, could be twice a week. For other individuals, it could be once a month. Having a higher insulin load for a short period of time can tell the body, okay, I'm in a state of feasting now. I can reactivate thyroid hormone. And so finding the right strategy that works best for you, again, it could be once a week, could be once every other week, could be twice a week. Finding the right strategy that works for you is probably the best thing to do here to get the best approach on thyroid. For some individuals, they can do long-term keto and do great with it. For other individuals, they may need carb cycling. Also, if you're having digestive issues, using something like hydrochloric acid, bile, ox bile, other digestive enzymes, particularly high lipase, basically lipase is a lipid burning enzyme or lipid breakdown enzyme. So adding in some extra enzyme support, digestive enzymes, bile, hydrochloric acid, maybe some bitters like ginger, dandelion, things like that to support liver, to support the production of stomach acid and bile to break down fat, and pancreatic enzymes can be really helpful. And then also using things like MCT oil to help basically create ketones can be really powerful as well. And finally, other factors would be, blood sugar imbalances, looking out for that, making sure you're consuming enough calories. I see a lot of individuals struggle because they're actually on a calorie restricted diet. We want to make sure that's not the case, making sure we're getting a lot of trace minerals. So consuming the kind of prebiotic foods I talked about earlier is really helpful. Keeping stress under control. Anytime you're trying to do a major lifestyle change, whether it's exercise, nutrition, things like that, you want to make sure you're not under a lot of other stressors because that can impact the results. So making sure you're keeping stress down, and then making sure you're really focusing on healthy fats, avocados, olives, coconut oil, coconut products, grass-fed butter. You're not getting a lot of processed vegetable oils like corn oil, cottonseed, soybean oil. Make sure you're avoiding those, not eating a lot of fried foods at restaurants that are fried in toxic fats. So very, very important strategies. So hopefully you guys got a lot out of today's training. And if you want to go deeper on the ketogenic diet and lifestyle, I do have a program called the Navigating Ketogenic Diet Program to really help guide you through this whole process. So you can check that out on my website, and I would love any comments that you guys have on this video and other videos that I've made. So you can leave those, and be sure to subscribe and share this with others. God bless you guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.